Welcome to The Hidden Load for the educators and leaders in medicine who hold everyone up. We will tackle the hard topics and help you conquer your chaos and get to calm, all by starting to acknowledge and remove that hidden load. This podcast is a space for us to name the things that are common but not normal. Each week, we'll look at the invisible weight you're carrying and explore practical coaching-based tools to help you find more calm, better boundaries, and a sense of purpose that doesn't require you to run on empty. I'm so glad that you've carved time out for yourself today. Let's get into the episode. Welcome back to The Hidden Load. I am your host, Dr. Santina, or Tina Wheat. Now, today, we are going to dismantle a badges of honors myth that is quietly compromising the quality of leadership across academic medicine and other healthcare organizations. I want to start by taking a look at your current calendar. If you were to open your phone or your desktop right now and look at the layout of your week, what does it look like? If you are the average clinical leader or medical educator, your calendar probably looks like a completed game of Tetris. It is an unyielding, multicolored grid of back-to-back commitments. You have a clinic block running straight into an M&M committee meeting, which runs into a resident evaluation review, which runs into a budget briefing. And if you are lucky enough to spot a rare, tiny 15-minute blank gap in that grid, what is your automatic reflex? Well, for most of us, your reflex is to immediately fill it. You pull up your phone, you open the ambulatory inbox, you fire off 4 rapid-fire emails, or you sign off on a pile of compliance modules. You slam the laptop shut just in time to sprint down the hallway to your next meeting, feeling a surge of accomplishment because you did it. You were efficient. But today, I would like to offer you a radical, counterintuitive diagnostic truth. That exact version of efficiency is a symptom of cognitive failure. We are living under what I would like to call the efficiency delusion, the false belief that an optimized high-speed output of micro tasks is synonymous with effective institutional leadership. In the clinical world, we are trained, conditioned, and rewarded for thinking incredibly fast. But when you step into an executive, strategic, or educational leadership role, that exact same high-speed reflex can become dangerous. So today, we are going to talk about why filling every gap in your day is destroying your ability to lead strategically. The hard neurobiology of why medical leaders cannot afford to think fast at all times, and how to reframe staring at a wall for an hour as true, high-value, non-negotiable executive labor. So we're going to start by talking about the fast thinking glitch, System 1 versus System 2. To understand why we are burning out our strategic capacity, we have to look at the hard cognitive architecture of the human brain. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman famously mapped out 2 distinct modes of cognitive processing, System 1 and System 2. System 1 is your fast, automatic, frequent, emotional, and subconscious mode of thinking. It relies heavily on pattern recognition, heuristics, and instant reflexes. Now, System 2 is your slow, deliberate, effortful, logical, and deeply calculating mode of thinking. It requires significant energy, focus, and crucially, uninterrupted time. Now, medicine is an absolute masterclass in training System 1. Think about your clinical development. When a patient walks into the emergency department or the clinic presenting with acute respiratory distress, you can't sit back and just cross your legs and ponder the philosophical nature of pulmonary exchange for 45 minutes? That would never work. Your patient wouldn't make it. Instead, your system one takes over instantly. You spot the patterns, you run the clinical algorithm, you make the high-stakes decisions under pressure, and you save a life. We reward this high-speed reflex from day one of medical school. It is absolutely the definition of clinical competence. But let's look at what happens when you take that exact same highly polished System 1 engine and drive it straight into an executive boardroom or an educational committee. Imagine that you're tasked with completely redesigning a residency curriculum to comply with a new set of ACGME requirements while navigating internal department politics, or you are trying to structuralize a multi-million-dollar division budget amidst massive hospital revenue shortfalls. These are not algorithmic problems. There is no pre-calculated medical protocol for institutional diplomacy or for fiscal compromise. These are complex, nonlinear, adaptive problems. They require deep, strategic System 2 labor. Here's the cognitive glitch. When your schedule is packed back to back without a single breath of white space, your brain is biologically locked out of System 2 processing. When you are rushing from task to task, your prefrontal cortex remains stuck in survival mode. It defaults to the fastest path of least resistance, which is System 1 pattern making. You start making rapid and short-sighted decisions about complex institutional issues just to clear them off your desk. You handle a delicate personnel crisis with a fast defensive email. You approve a compromised curriculum plan just to check it off your to-do list. By forcing your brain to operate at maximum velocity all day long, you are trying to solve structural, multi-year organizational challenges using nothing but instant technical triage reflexes. So let's dismantle the psychology behind why we fall into this trap. Why is it that we feel so incredibly guilty when we aren't actively doing something tangible? Why does a blank space on a calendar feel like a personal failure of discipline? It is because we are suffering from the efficiency delusion. In healthcare, we carry a hidden load, the habit of tying our entire professional self-worth to visible, high-volume productivity metrics. As clinicians, our productivity has always been hyper-visible and immediately quantified. You saw 24 patients today. You completed 12 charts. You performed 3 procedures. The feedback loop is instant and it is measurable. We translate that metric directly into our value as human beings. When you move into leadership, that visible connection to productivity vanishes. Strategic leadership does not have an immediate production line. The outcomes of your strategic planning might not show up on a dashboard for 18 months or 2 years. But because we miss that dopamine hit of the immediate clinical win, we sometimes overcompensate by turning our administrative tasks into an artificial production line. We might treat our email inbox like a patient queue. We think, if I could answer 50 emails today, if I can attend 6 consecutive meetings, if I can check every single box on my task manager, then I am doing real work. I am being highly efficient. I often call this my checkbox mentality. But let's trace a case study of how this delusion actively destroys an organization. Consider a brilliant clinical division chief who is completely caught in the efficiency trap. Her day is structured down to the minute. She answers emails during her walk between clinics. She eats lunch while reviewing contract renewals. And she prides herself on rapid response times. But because her calendar has zero white space, she never has the time to zoom out. She is so busy reacting to the day's micro crises that she misses the macro trends. She doesn't notice that 3 of her most promising junior faculty members are quietly burning out until they walk into her office with resignation letters. She doesn't see that a competing hospital system is capturing a major market share of patient referrals until the department revenue drops by 15%. She was incredibly efficient at running the daily treadmill, but she completely failed to see that the treadmill was headed off a cliff. When you exhaust your cognitive energy on the superficial volume of administrative noise, you have absolutely nothing left for deep strategic vision. You are working yourself to the bone, but you are leaving your department rudderless. You are steering the ship with absolute high-speed precision, but you are completely blind to the iceberg sitting 2 miles ahead. So, how do we break the delusion? Well, we have to shift our relationship with time and actively learn to value what the corporate world calls white space. White space is not free time. It's not a break. It's not a luxury. And it certainly is not a wellness indulgence. White space is the highly active, fiercely protected zone where strategic executive labor takes place. It is the time where you close the laptop, put your phone in a drawer, turn your chair away from the desk, and simply look at a wall or a whiteboard for an hour to let your system 2 process complex data networks. It is the space where you synthesize variables, anticipate institutional friction, and build sustainable solutions. To protect the space inside a hyper-demanding healthcare organization, you cannot rely on casual requests. You have to establish hard operational boundaries using structured, safety-centered communication. I want you to use the DESC framework to script the protection of your strategic thinking blocks when the institution tries to crowd them out. Let's map out an exact script for when an administrative coordinator or clinical director tries to override your scheduled strategic white space with a routine committee meeting. D, describe the facts. State the structural parameter without emotional defense. My current operational layout has zero open capacity for strategic block development outside of the designated Thursday morning planning meeting. You might say it differently. It might be, Thursday morning is the only time that I have to think and strategize to get work done. E, express the impact. Connect the lack of time directly to the organizational risk and systemic failure. When we crowd out the strategic window with routine meetings, I am forced to review our multi-year curriculum overhaul using short-term triage reflex, which directly increases the risk of our compliance errors during our upcoming accreditation review. Again, I might say that a little bit differently. When I don't have my thinking time, I am unable to effectively put together our documentation for our accreditation review. S, specify the target route. Propose a firm, non-negotiable alternative or boundary. I need us to maintain this Thursday block as a hard law executive window and route all routine administrative updates to our monthly consensus email instead. C, outline positive consequences. State how this boundary directly protects the institution's primary metrics. So I need us to block that time so that we can deliver a structurally sound, fully compliant curriculum that protects our trainee pipeline and ensures our program passes the site visit without institutional penalties. Look at what the script accomplishes. You're not saying, I'm too busy. And you're not saying, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Those are emotional admissions that the system will exploit. They're important things to be able to verbalize, but not in this space. You instead are stating that strategic thinking time is a critical safety control. You are reframing slow, deliberate thought as the baseline metric for institutional protection. So why is the structural reframe so urgent for our educators, our program directors, our senior chiefs, and other leaders? Well, because our trainees are currently developing a toxic addiction to urgency by watching our behavior. We are raising and have raised a generation of residents, fellows, and junior faculty who believe that to be seen as a competent professional, they must look chronically overwhelmed. They are absorbing the hidden load of the hustle culture of medicine. They see their attendings answering text pages in the middle of a complex case discussion. They see their leaders bragging about how few hours of sleep they got, and they learn to equate constant movement with career excellence. When we model that urgency addiction, we are training our future leaders to be shallow thinkers. We are teaching them to run as fast as they can on the wheel without ever pausing to ask if the wheel is attached to anything meaningful. When you have the courage to model the protection of white space, when you walk into a team room and say, I am locking my office door for the next 2 hours to think through our department's structural changes. Do not disturb me unless there is an acute clinical emergency. You are executing a profound act of mentorship. You are giving your trainees a permission slip to slow down. You are demonstrating that true leadership authority does not look like a frantic sprint through a corridor. It looks like a calm, deliberate, highly regulated relationship with time. You teach them that their mind is not an institutional sponge meant to be squeezed dry every second of the day, but a highly sophisticated strategic asset that must be protected at all costs. We just covered a massive amount of cognitive territory today. We analyzed the biological conflict between clinical system 1 reflexes and executive system 2 strategic planning. We exposed the trap of the efficiency delusion, mapped out the tactical script for protecting time blocks, and named our collective responsibility to break the urgency addiction for the next generation of healthcare leaders. And so as your Monday morning challenge, this week, I want you to go into your digital calendar and I want you to find a single 60-minute block. I want you to completely wipe it clean of all meetings, all tasks, all chart reviews, and it shouldn't be your lunch. Label that block System 2 Executive Labor. When that hour arrives, I want you to close the email client, put your phone in your drawer, lock your office door. And I simply want you to sit with a blank piece of paper or a whiteboard and focus entirely on the single biggest, most complex strategic challenge that is facing your department today. When the voice inside your head starts screaming that you're being lazy or that you should be clearing your inbox, I want you to breathe through the discomfort, remind yourself that you cannot steer a multi-million-dollar clinical engine if your eyes are glued entirely to the dashboard. Drop the speed, embrace the quiet, and do the slow, heavy lifting that true leadership actually requires. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Hidden Load. If this diagnostic breakdown helped you put down the burden of performative efficiency today, I hope that you'll share it with a colleague or a trainee who is currently running too fast to see where they're going. Let's protect the person so that we can protect the mission. I'm Dr. Santina Wheat, and I look forward to seeing you next week. If you're listening to this episode in the month of August, I am running a birthday special. Send me an email and I will give you the code so that you can get a discount on any of my coaching packages. I would love to help you. I am Dr. Santina Wheat, and I will see you next week. Thank you for listening to The Hidden Load. If today's conversation spoke to you, I would love for you to share it with a colleague who might need to hear it too. It's one of the simplest ways we can start shifting the culture of medicine together. Thank you for listening to The Hidden Load. If today's conversation spoke to you, I would love for you to share it with a colleague who might need to hear it too. It's one of the simplest ways we can start shifting the culture of medicine together. And remember, your time spent reflecting here matters. You can earn free CME or CE credits for listening to today's episode through the Pinnacle app. You'll find that link in the show notes. If you are looking for one-on-one coaching support or want to dive deeper into the resources we discussed today, let's connect. You can find information on how to reach me in the show notes. And don't forget to hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And leave me a rating so that others can find me too. And take care of yourself because you deserve to be held up too. And I'll see you next time. And remember, your time spent reflecting here matters. You can earn free CME or CE credits for listening to today's episode through the Pinnacle app. You'll find that link in the show notes. If you are looking for one-on-one coaching support or want to dive deeper into the resources we discussed today, let's connect. You can find information on how to reach me in the show notes. And don't forget to hit subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And leave me a rating so that others can find me too. And take care of yourself because you deserve to be held up too. And I'll see you next time.